The 1980s was a golden era for music, birthing legendary acts across various genres. While some bands from that era are still celebrated today, others disappeared almost as quickly as they rose to prominence. Many fell victim to changing trends, industry politics, financial struggles, or personal conflicts. Today, we explore 20 forgotten 80s bands that vanished without a trace, delving into the reasons behind their disappearance, controversies, and challenges they faced. First is The Lucy Show. The Lucy Show emerged from the UK post-punk scene with their moody, atmospheric sound that drew comparisons to The Cure and Echo and the Bunnymen. Despite initial promise and a cult following, the band struggled with record label issues and lack of proper promotion. Their 1985 album Undone gained some traction, but they never managed to break into the mainstream. After one final album, Mania failed to gain significant success. The band quietly disbanded in 1988. Some of the reasons why they varnished are poor marketing and distribution by their label, struggles with maintaining commercial success, and internal dissatisfaction with their career trajectory. Next on the list is Q Feel. Q Feel was a British synth-pop band best known for their 1982 hit Dancing in Heaven, Orbital Bebop, which gained popularity in dance clubs and minor airplay in the US. However, the band failed to follow up on their initial success. Lead singer Martin Page later found success as a songwriter for other artists, including Heart, These Dreams, and Starship, We Built This City, but Q Feel as a band faded into obscurity. They vanished because their label struggled, leading to poor promotion, lack of a strong follow-up single, lead singer shifting focus to songwriting for others. Next is The Call. The Call, led by Michael Bin, was an American rock band that showed early promise with hits like The Walls Came Down and Let the Day Begin. Despite critical acclaim and admiration from artists like Peter Gabriel and Bono, The Call never achieved mainstream success. Michael Bin later focused on supporting his son Robert's band, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, and The Call faded from the limelight for the following reasons: lack of mainstream breakthrough despite strong songwriting, internal struggles and shifting priorities of band members, and the passing of frontman Michael Bin in 2010 sealed their fate. Another is Slow Children. Slow Children was a new wave duo consisting of Pal Shazar and Andrew Chinich, known for their quirky and surreal lyrics. They gained underground recognition with tracks like Spring and Fialta, but never managed to break through commercially. After 2 albums, they disappeared from the scene, and Shazar later pursued a solo career as a painter and writer. When their niche sound didn't translate to mainstream appeal, lack of strong label support, and members moved on to different creative endeavors, it resulted to the end of their band. Next is Boys Don't Cry. Boys Don't Cry was a British band best remembered for their 1986 hit I Wanna Be a Cowboy. Despite the song's brief success, they failed to produce another hit, and their novelty status prevented them from sustaining a career. They attempted to reform in later years, but the magic of their 80s hit couldn't be recaptured. They vanished because the band was seen as a one-hit wonder. Their sound didn't evolve with changing music trends and lack of industry support post-hit. Next is Furniture. Furniture was a UK-based band with a sophisticated, moody sound. Their 1986 hit Brilliant Mind showcased their potential, but they ran into a disastrous situation when their record label, Stiff Records, went bankrupt. This left their album The Wrong People without proper distribution, effectively their momentum. The band dissolved in the early 90s because the record label bankruptcy affected promotion and distribution, industry misfortunes beyond their control, and failure to regain footing after initial success. Next is Red Rockers. Red Rockers started as a punk band before transitioning to a new wave sound. Their biggest hit, China, showcased their potential, but the band struggled to maintain a consistent identity. Creative differences and poor management led to their dissolution by the mid-80s. They vanished because of the struggles with musical direction, poor management and label support, and internal band conflicts. Another is The Fix, led by underappreciated frontman Cy Kernan, new wave pop rockers. The Fix broke out in the US with their second record, Reach the Beach. It featured top 20 hits, One Thing Leads to Another, and Saved by Zero. However, later tracks, Are We Ourselves and Secret Separation cracked the top 40 but have long been forgotten in America. Not to mention the severely underrated Deeper and Deeper from the Streets of Fire soundtrack. Next is Exodus. These Bay Area thrashers never enjoyed the commercial success of metal buddies Metallica, but Exodus has long been hailed among the true pioneers of the Northern California thrash bunch speed metal movement. Exodus's first 3 studio releases, Bonded by Blood, Pleasures of the Flesh, and Fabulous Disaster, represent the band at its best. Raw, unbridled, and musically furious. The likes of Testament, Anthrax, and Death Angel have long considered Exodus a major influence, and while guitarist Gary Holt and singer Steve Zetro Souza are the most recognized current members of the band, Metallica's Kirk Hammett was part of the lineup in the early years. Wrathchild, formed in Worcestershire in 1980, these glam metal trailblazers were nothing short of Evisham's answer to Mötley Crüe, with 1984 debut Stack Attack, a genre classic. However, a spirit-sapping series of label hassles saw a 4-year delay before 1988's tellingly titled follow-up, The Biz Sucks, with not even a cameo appearance from Iron Maiden's Bruce Dickinson in the video for lead single Nuclear Rocket, enough to propel it chartwards. By the time third and final studio album Delirium met a similar fate on release in 1989, lead singer Rocky Shades had seen enough, departing to join punk stalwarts Discharge. Next is Men Without Hats. Yes, The Safety Dance, Go Ahead, Do It at Home, was a pop culture and MTV phenomenon in the early 1980s, but these Canadian new wave synth poppers are not worthy of the one-hit wonder status. Pop Goes the World, from the band's 1987 third studio album of the same name, was also a top 20 hit in the US, and might be a better overall song. In total, the group put out 4 albums during the 80s, then another in the 1990s, and 3 this century. Another is Front 242, beginning with 1982's Geography. Belgium's Front 242 is considered a pioneer of the industrial and EBM music scene. However, when it came to mainstream popularity and what MTV was playing, somewhat similar outfits like New Order and Nitzer Ebb, and to a certain extent, Depeche Mode generated more interest. Yet, it didn't stop Front 242. Half of the group's 8 albums were released in the 1980s, and 1988's Headhunter is likely its most recognizable track. Next is Device. Device was a short-lived industrial rock band formed by Holly Knight, known for her songwriting prowess. Their 1986 album, 22B3, produced the hit Hanging on a Heart Attack, but the band broke up soon after. Knight returned to writing hits for other artists, leaving Device as a one-album wonder. They were a project-based band with no long-term plans. Their members moved on to more successful careers elsewhere, and lack of commercial longevity were the major reasons they vanished. Another on our list is Transvision Vamp. Fronted by Wendy James, Transvision Vamp had punk glam aesthetic and radio-friendly hits like Baby I Don't Care. However, after their initial success, their label struggled with marketing them for longevity. By the early 90s, grunge took over, and Transvision Vamp disappeared. Wendy James attempted a solo career but never regained her former success. The changing music landscape, poor industry support for reinvention, and Wendy James's solo career failed to take off. Next is The Plimsolls, a high-octane cross between the Cars and Elvis Costello and The Attractions. This Los Angeles quartet had everything required to burn chart rubber. Having set out his stall on their self-titled 1981 debut album, songwriter Peter Case went one better the following year with the gilt-edged power pop of single A Million Miles Away, a perfect showcase for the singer-guitarist's Lennon-esque rasp. Its failure to chart precipitated the band's split the following year, but the Plimsolls legend lives on. Next is Hamby and the Dance. This British new wave band had a strong cult following, but struggled with mainstream success. Their 1982 album Heartache included L'Image Craquée, a song praised by critics but largely ignored by the general public. After facing financial difficulties and a lack of label support, the band disappeared, with Hambi Haralambous later moving into music production. Next is Vixen. As far as the 1980s girl rock bands went, the Go-Go's and the Bangles pretty much garnered most of the attention. However, Vixen held its own in the hair, glam, metal world, with top 40 hits like Edge of a Broken Heart and Crying. From its self-titled 1988 debut, Vixen became an MTV staple and was just as capable of rock success as its male counterparts within the genre. The band's 1990 follow-up, Rev It Up, didn't garner the same attention as its debut, with the mainstream music scene changing. Another on the list is Violent Femmes, the pride of Milwaukee. The Femmes are responsible for such sing-along folk-punk alternative rock favorites like Blister in the Sun, Add It Up, American Music, Kiss Off, and Gone Daddy Gone. The band's self-titled 1982 album is arguably one of the great rock debuts. Yet, the band deserved more acclaim than just a loyal following that seems somewhat limited to the Midwest. Then again, maybe that's what makes the group so appealing. Alternative in every sense of the word. Next is The Time. Considering The Time was employed by Prince, it would always be in the shadow of the Great One. However, Morris Day and Quarsh, which included what would become the famed production duo of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis as members in the early days, generated their own following thanks to dance pop funk soul classics like The Bird and Jungle Love during the 1980s, not to mention Day's superb acting performance in Purple Rain. The Time's prominence somewhat resurfaced with its inclusion in 2001's Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And the final band on our list is The Replacements. The Replacements are more popular today than back in the 80s. Like fellow Twin Cities rockers Husker Du, The Replacements, with the classic lineup of vocalist Paul Westerberg, guitarist Bob Stinson, bassist Tommy Stinson, and drummer Chris Mars, started out with a punk vibe. The band picked up traction during the decade when its sound shifted toward alternative. Since that wasn't mainstream back then, tracks like Unsatisfied, Bastards of Young, Alex Chilton, Can't Hardly Wait, and I'll Be You have become early alternative classics over the years. The 80s was a decade of musical excess, but not every band made it out alive. Whether due to label mismanagement, poor timing, industry shifts, or personal conflicts, these bands vanished without a trace despite showing great potential. While their names may be forgotten by the mainstream, their music still holds a special place in the hearts of those who remember them. If you're a fan of 80s music, revisiting these lost gems might just reveal some incredible forgotten tracks worth rediscovering, and also let us know on the comment section your favorite band.